This time on episode 421 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we talk Marvel Studios' Disney Plus Moon Knight, third episode, The Friendly Type. Plus, weekly Marvel Studio news, including weekly comings and goings of Disney Plus Defenders scenes, including Stan Lee and the Reg E. Cathy tributes, and the Defenders Punisher promo, She-Hulk premiere date rumors, and new names to the Ironheart Creative Team, plus your feedback about Ahmet's Justice.
I'm SP from Better Podcasting, a show dedicated to help make your podcast better, and it is part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other insightful and wonderful geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
You have been granted clearance by director Alfonso Mack Mackenzie. Stand by for a S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Agent Michelle.
I'm Agent Chris.
I'm Consultant Anthony.
And I'm producer of the show, Director SP. Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a Marvel Comic Universe fan show discussing the Marvel Cinematic and comic book universes as told on screen by Marvel Studios. The show is recorded on Thursday, April 14th, 2022, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios and broadcast mooncast-wide via www.geeks.live. Come and join our live chat as we record. Hey gang, happy International Moment of Laughter Day. So I didn't know there were so many ways that one could categorize laughing. You can do chuckling, giggling, guffawing, snickering, cackling, chortling, cracking up, crowing, sniggering, snorting, tittering, chortling, chuckling, giggling, guffawing, tee-heeing, tittering, and yucking.
They forgot one.
What?
They forgot the mwah.
Billions. 1 billion. Mwah. Yep.
One type that they forgot. Ha ha ha.
Counting out your Sesame Street, right? Like the true Muppet fan you are.
It's true. Gotta stay on brand.
All right. It was dreamed up in 1997 by author, professional speaker, and humor consultant Izzy Gazelle. It's been going on for 25 years. So congratulations, Izzy, for creating such a funny day.
What do you mean? 1997 was only like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it's like yesterday. But yes, I understand what you're saying. It's 25 years ago to the day, apparently. Wow. Anyway, you just heard from him. Anthony's back from his archaeological expedition that he went on to find a scarab or something like that. Anthony, thank you for joining us on the show today.
It's good to be back. And yes, I am back from my expedition to go search the relics for some golden rings before a blue hedgehog could obtain them, because that's where it was last week.
Oh, that must have been fun.
It is. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, you weren't here, you were there, and now you're back with us, which we need you because we need an expert to talk about Moon Knight. I think we've established no matter who anointed you, we're going to anoint you a Moon Knight expert. So we're glad to have you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the title.
We're going to get to it soon because we love talking about Marvel.
Because of making Neil deGrasse Tyson happy.
If you want to talk to us about making Neil deGrasse Tyson happy, you can visit the website at legendsofshield.com.
If you'd like to leave us a voicemail about how you agree or disagree with his complaints about stars and movies, you can leave us a voicemail at 844-THE-BUS-1. It's 844-843-2871.
If you just want to annoy the mess out of him, because let's be honest, that's a whole lot more fun, head on over to Twitter and make sure to tag us at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You can see our faces on YouTube at youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
If you need to get a small army together for your troll fest, head on over to the Discord server at GonnaGeek.com/Discord.
And remember, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the GonnaGeek.com network.
Pluto is a planet. Take that, Neil.
It's just, do you remember his long diatribe about James Cameron and the Titanic? And when that moment happened, which we're going to talk about, it was just like, that's all I could think about.
He does it with every movie he'll come out with, or every notable movie he'll come out with, like the scientific facts of it and everything. I know he did The Martian, and I know he's done a lot. And okay, I get it, Neil. Just sit back and enjoy the movie, would you? Just enjoy it. Even with The Expanse, which is the greatest depiction on actual space that we know of. I know there's issues with it. Okay, I get it. There's a few scenes in there that I'm like, why did you guys? I don't believe you even put that in there. But I just ride with it because I like it. All right, it's entertainment. It's not supposed to be a thesis that you're doing. All right, I got that out of my system. I know everybody's here to talk about Moon Knight, especially Anthony. So let's get to it before Anthony starts digging. Moon Knight Episode 3, The Friendly Type, premiered on Disney Plus Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. The IMDB description reads, with Marc in the forefront and Harrow ahead, Marc and Layla navigate Cairo for intel. Michelle, who directed the episode?
This episode is directed by Mohamed Diab, who has 4 directing credits starting in 2010, including 6 episodes of Moon Knight. He also wrote The Island in 2007 and The Island 2 in 2014.
I have to confess, I thought this was a different Island movie when we were talking about it before. It was not that movie. So I have not seen these. These apparently are Egyptian-based films, culturally relevant, and I've not seen them, but apparently they're pretty big. So I just want to throw that out there for anybody that's a listener for this series that, oh, shockingly, SP was wrong. Chris, who wrote the episode?
This one was written by Beau DeMayo, who has 8 writing credits since 2009. Among those, you have 23 episodes of the originals, League of Legends, Before Dawn, and Absolution. I hear that's a game people like. I don't know. The Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf, 2 episodes of The Witcher, which I still have not watched, this episode of Moon Knight, and, unless things go crazy, at least 1 episode of X-Men 97. Another writer on this one was Peter Cameron, who has 10 writing credits since 2009, 8 episodes of Carnival Row, 9 episodes of WandaVision, which we talked about, well, they talked about a lot here. I wasn't here for that one, and 2 episodes of Moon Knight. You also had Sabir Pirzada, who has 5 writing credits since 2015. You have 2 episodes of Person of Interest, 11 episodes of Roswell, New Mexico, and a couple episodes of Moon Knight.
And Jeremy Slater is the Moon Knight showrunner. Yeah, some talent there. The Witcher. I've not seen it either. I don't know. Michelle, is it worth it?
I would say yes. Understand that the first season has weird time stuff. I would suggest actually you need to go to the internet and get a primer on the order of it. The second season is so much better. Henry Cavill is so good as Geralt. So good. So toss your eyeballs at The Witcher.
I like weird time stuff, so that's a good sell, but how often do they play the song?
The song is actually really mostly in one episode and tidbits in others. It just became this internet, sensation. It is catchy.
So I'm just going to play it in the background then for everything.
Sure thing.
Why not? Why not indeed? All right. We have been isolating the cast members that we talk about on this podcast because we're not going to run down everybody for every episode. There was at least 1 new cast member this time, and we're going to talk about him. So go ahead, Anthony.
Gaspard Ulliel is a French actor who played Anton Mogart, aka the Midnight Man, in this particular episode, and I'll explain a little more about who Anton Mogart is in the comics later. He played the title role in Hannibal Rising, which was a Hannibal Lecter prequel in 2007. So he's credited for 4 episodes of Moon Knight on IMDb. Unfortunately, he is only going to appear in this season, and episode 3 has been dedicated to him because he passed away suddenly on January 22nd following a skiing accident. Apparently, he hit his head and suffered some unfortunate trauma and passed away. So we will discuss a little bit about what it is that Anton brings, and I thought he did a fantastic job with this, but I'm very sad that for one reason or another, we're not going to get to see more of Gaspard and Anton Mogart in future stories about Moon Knight.
Now, they could recast Anton, but I'm not sure if they will in this particular case or not. I mean, the universe is so big that they might be able to do without. And by the way, Gaspard, I know he's not around anymore, but I'd cross the street for him.
Yep.
Yeah, you can get it.
All right, so we have a Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. exclusive. It's just unique to us. It's something that we do. We actually write and read off a synopsis so that we don't have to rehash it in our discussion later on. This is what happened in the episode.
Layla bonds with her mother by crafting a fake passport. Harrow uses the Scarab compass to locate the Ark of the Covenant dig site.
Marc Spector's stunt double shows off his stunt double's knife fight moves, then loses himself mid-fight.
Marc and Steven now seem to have more company as a kid sacrifices himself to praise Amit.
Khonshu signals the gods with sky spam. They just can't delete and ignore.
When the avatars meet, Marc has a new sensation, and Khonshu's Judge Judy moment is concluded unfavorably.
Zenvu's sarcophagus becomes the new MacGuffin to find the Ark of the Covenant dig site.
Layla and Marc have a romantic pre-divorce boat ride to an after-dinner party.
Their host Anton plays Let's Open the Ark of the Covenant with Harrow before an epic party-crashing fight spontaneously breaks out.
After their dinner and the show, Marc and Layla quietly put together a puzzle by phoning in their friend Steven.
As a reward, Steven gets to spin the nighttime sky so much that it leaves Khonshu stoned.
And Harrow enjoys having the last word as the credits wash over the screen.
All right, that's what happened in the episode. Michelle, what'd you think of it?
Why should anyone care that the Egyptian gods are coming around? Like, we've had Thanos. Imagine you're living in the MCU. We've had an alien invasion, and then we've had another alien invasion, and then we've had another alien invasion, and then we've had another alien invasion, and then we met these gods, Thor and Loki. Okay, Loki is not that great, but they're both hot. Are these Egyptian gods also going to be hot? Who knows? Why? Why
not? But also, I've heard that this show has fighting, and now in the 3rd episode, we finally see it.
This, for me, was the first episode that felt like the Moon Knight that I actually know and love. And as I had alluded to earlier, it's sad that we're not going to see any more of Anton Mogart, although that has nothing to do with Gaspard's untimely death.
In this episode, I loved the character development. We got to delve more into a few of the characters. So I like that continuing, although at some point in time, you got to stop and you got to run with the plot. And I also like in this episode that you get a sense of the epicness involved with the gods and spinning the sky and the stoning and the council that was done and everything. So we finally are at the point where we're seeing the universe as it's laid out to us in terms of this Moon Knight series. From that perspective, I really liked it. And then also, I'll just throw in there, the fights were pretty good too. So let's start our discussion off with Michelle's question, why? So please, Michelle, I was a little bit dubious or unsure is better word of what you meant there. So why the why?
Why should we care that this Amit's going to be released? I mean, it's just, I can just hear Steven. It's like, why? Why? Maybe she wants to come out and have tea. I can just hear it in Steven's voice because he's always like, don't kill. But yeah, it's like, why should we care? Last week, you have evidence that this is post-snap, but we don't know if this is post-blip. So Khonshu says, I didn't abandon humanity. Why? It's like, I didn't abandon humanity because we just saw half the population get thrown to dust. And if this Amit's released, she's going to judge everybody, and that could erase more of the population. Any sort of, because one little line like this would let me be on board, because right now I'm just like, why just, let Ethan Hawke walk around on glass and get his god, because maybe she's cool and has great fashion sense. Who knows? I just need to know, the fighting's cool. We're going to talk about all the type of stuff. But eventually, again, this is the 3rd episode of 6 episodes. And Michelle is again asking, why?
Well, I think it comes down to the fact that when you're dealing with the gods, and the thing that I appreciated here was they referenced the Overvoid, which is a concept taken from the Jeff Lemire run, that all of the deities, quote unquote, that were worshipped in Egypt were actually aliens. I think it's a situation where it gives you a touch to the outside world, but if you'll notice, so much of it seems to be centered around the fact that these gods don't want to be seen, and they don't want to make a big deal. Khonshu's the only one who's like, the people need to fear us, they need to know us. The rest of the gods are like, no, we're good, we're just going to kind of hang in the back. So I think it's less on why we should care about the gods as a threat, and more, we need to focus on the interplay between the gods and among the gods. So that was kind of my take on it.
Oh, I had a much simpler reason for why we should just agree that Amit is bad and Khonshu is good, and it's just the usual plot elements of we met Khonshu first, so of course he's the good one, and we haven't met Amit yet, so Amit's bad.
I mean, I can go with that. I'll go with the known versus the unknown, right?
It's how it is. You get 2 races of aliens coming down. Whichever one you meet first is good guys, and you believe whatever they say.
Shell, is Chris right?
No. Sorry,
maybe
there
yes.
have been times when I know it's just, sometimes you're right, but I get that is a plot device. But there needs to be something. I get like the God drama, but this is also a repeat to me of the Eternals. Because the Eternals were all like, well, we need to step back because this isn't about like our main dude. So we need to step back. But okay, now this is happening. So now we need to step in. The whole like these gods not paying attention. And now Khonshu's like, no, we got to get involved, is the Eternals plot.
Again. Well, we'll see what the next 3 episodes bring us. I don't know. Maybe this has all been set up to this point and then it goes in a different direction. I don't know. We still don't know if the Scarab is Eternals tech or if it's other tech wherever these gods are from, because one of the gods alluded to the fact that some of them were off planet and some of them had alluded to stay. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if we'll find out or not, but it has me curious. Also, Chris brought up a good point in the show notes, and I want to make sure we address it as upfront as we can. So Harrow's defense in the court inside the pyramid, I think, was probably a bad precedent, and it left a bad taste in my mouth the way it went. So Chris, what are you talking about?
So Harrow's take, as they're in their conference with all the gods, essentially boils down to Khonshu's avatar has bad mental health, so you can't believe him because he's obviously messed up. Now, I don't know if I want to jump straight to bad taste in the mouth like SP does, because I'm willing to let characters have their bad moment, and we already don't like Harrow. But we've come so far with so many good things about good mental health, and then now we're throwing this in there, and nobody really says anything about it. Besides Khonshu of, no, I'm not messed up, or I'm at least not messed up enough to not be believed, but also I'm right, so who cares? I mean, everybody else just kind of rolls with Harrow, and yeah, I guess he's not all right mentally, so we can't believe him.
Yeah, as we talk about on our show all the time on Capes on the Couch. We discuss the various stigmas that are associated with mental health and its depictions in media. And so coming into the show, one of the things that I was concerned about was the depiction of DID, and also in talking with various Moon Knight fans and comic fans in general who have DID and other mental illnesses, this idea that he's broken and he is not to be trusted. Now, having said that, Harrow is very clearly the villain here. So I think him using that trope further explains why he's bad, because it's not a heroic thing to do that. But it's very difficult for me to elucidate my feelings on that because of the fact that it's very clearly a poor move on Harrow's part to make that, but also that's kind of his shtick. He is the villain, and we're supposed to believe that he's the bad guy.
Yeah, I haven't shied away from the fact that I have a mental illness, and I wasn't a big fan of that either. But again, part of me was just, if you're an avatar of a god, don't you have some issues to begin with? And that got me thinking about, how do you become an avatar to a god? Is there a job application? Is there a website? Is there pay? Is there benefits? How come Harrow gets invited? That's what gets me, is that here, yeah, he's like he's an ex-employee, and he gets to come back. And for some reason, Khonshu doesn't mention, hey, he's got the scarab. Why don't you ask him about the scarab? Because that's a key piece of evidence there. And then part of me is wondering, did they already, I know what it's like to be prejudged. And part of me just wonders, did they all just prejudge anyway? Because it seems as though Khonshu also has issues with the gods. And is everyone in on it? And almost, because later on you see one of them talking to Harrow, and it almost makes me think there's a conspiracy already. So that was, yeah, I was not a big fan of that. And to cope, I started to make up job application things during that scene.
Well, Harrow was there because he was getting accused of going to release Amit. So him being there makes perfect sense. Them letting him talk like that, however, I mean, even if you just take out what he said, the amount and how much weight they put into it of what he said, I think is way too much.
I don't think this is the last time we've seen the Council of the Gods. Matter of fact, Khonshu is technically there right now. I think Marc Spector is going to find his way back into the pyramid, the temple, whatever you want to call it, and free him as Khonshu asked. Told Steven, tell Marc, come get me. I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see. Talking about Marc and Steven seem to be getting along a little bit better this episode.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more interplay between them, which tracks with their interactions in the comics. That there's a lot more in the comics, there's a lot more cooperation, shall we say, between them, depending on the writer, of course. But there's definitely an acknowledgement that they need to all work together and share the body. But having said that, since this is our introduction to Moon Knight, and it's the first that we're really seeing how they're all sort of learning each other, it makes sense that there's going to be some growing pains, shall we say, before they all learn how teamwork works. So I'm not disappointed at the lack of chemistry that they have, but I'm interested to see where it's going to go from here.
And it seems like they're really learning how to switch between each other when they want to and have it be a beneficial thing. Like, you have them switching them in the middle of a fight, which granted, Steven sucks in a fight, so that might not have been the best move. But you have them able to figure out the problems, solve problems together, you have them able to interact with each other well, and they're doing it on purpose and not just fighting all the time.
Kudos to Oscar Isaac for making Marc, and Steven. And it's interesting how they are getting to know each other. And there's that interesting sequence in Cairo where they're fighting. Marc is beating up a bad guy. Steven is saying, don't kill him. And then there's a blackout part. And so instead of seeing it from Steven's point of view, we're seeing it from Marc's point of view. And then Marc is saying to Steven, wait, I thought you didn't want to kill people, but you did this. And Steven's like, but it's not me. But it's not me. And I remember I wrote in my notes, wait a minute, didn't Anthony mention some guy named Jake? I wrote that in my notes. I paid attention, Anthony.
And I appreciate that because I have in mind, we're going to see Jake before the end of the season. We've basically guaranteed that at this point. If there's that much confusion, he was the one on the rooftop.
Yeah, my big question right now is, have we already seen Jake?
Yeah, I think Anthony's mentioned that before, way back in episode 1. We don't know exactly which one was which, and he brought up Jake. So if you don't know anything about Moon Knight, you don't know there is a Jake, but you know that there's different personalities in the body, so why not have more? And Arthur Harrow also alludes to that fact. I don't know what else is in there, so at least they're prepping the audience a little bit. But would you guys hold on a second? Let's see. I just got to fill out this. Okay, best attribute to be a God avatar. Podcast producer. Yeah, it acts kind of like a god sometimes. Okay, necessary skills. I think I'll put can do audio well in case I need to project my voice throughout the planet. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. We're doing a podcast now. I was filling out my application to be an avatar, Michelle.
Hey, you've got to have goals in your life.
That's right. So I have in my notes, by the way, since we're talking about it, what exactly is the mechanics of the switching of the identities? Because sometimes there has to be a mirror and sometimes no, like it's in mid-fight or something like that. Is it just me? Are they playing loose and fast with it? I'm not understanding exactly how it can be done. I don't have any problems if it can be freeform, but if it's freeform, why does he constantly need to like he ripped the mirror, the side mirror off of the 4x4 in the desert in order to get Steven? So can he just give Steven the body?
I don't know that it's necessarily a requirement. I think that's done more as a conceit for the audience so that we can understand the discussions that happen between Marc and Steven. But in terms of the actual requirements for the transition, a mirror is not needed. I think it's one of those things, as the plot demands, they'll use the mirror or not, just so we can have like the shiny reflective surface in the pyramid while Marc was walking in so that Steven could geek out and say, my God, we're in the Pyramid of Giza. That's what it's about. The reflective surfaces are more for the purposes of the discussion than the actual transition.
That's what I was figuring too, because it would be weird to just have a voiceover. So I just think it works better for us, the viewers, being able to see both of them talking.
I agree. And again, that's how we get to see Oscar Isaac be Oscar Isaac.
So let's move on. Let's talk about Layla, because we got a whole heck of a lot more Layla. We were kind of introduced to the character last episode, but this episode we get more of her backstory. We still don't know all the mysteries of Layla, but we know certainly a lot more Layla now than we did before, including she's a badass.
Yeah, where did she get that necklace from? Because my wife wants one, and I need to go find one. And I'm a little bit scared that she'll rip the necklace apart and use it on me sometimes. But I'm also scared of what she'd do if I didn't get her one.
So, Chris, what you're saying is that Layla would get you on your knees, have you beg and please. But all jokes aside, Layla, to me, after this episode, it's very clear that she is Marlene Alraun from the comics in all but name, particularly when Harrow was intimating that Marc, Stephen, whomever was responsible for her father's death, because in the comics, Marlene's father, Dr. Peter Alraune, was an archaeologist, Egyptologist, who was investigating a burial site, and his death at the hands of Raoul Bushman, but his death is what triggered Marc to initiate the fight. He ends up dying or passing out, what have you, underneath the statue of Khonshu and then being resurrected as Moon Knight. So it's very clear that they are further tying them together and that Marc is somehow related or involved with the death of Layla's father, which, again, she's a Marlene Exby. That's how it is. They didn't want to call her Marlene, but she's Marlene.
She is cool. I like the beginning where we got to see how that fake passport is made. She puts up with a lot. She's married to Marc. We figure out that she really didn't marry Marc. So did they get drunk one night in Vegas and that's how they got married? I'm not sure. It's obviously Marc's body. She says that she married Marc and that's Marc's body. But then she doesn't know anything about Stephen. So is Stephen an aspect? Is Stephen an actual person, or is Stephen an aspect that Khonshu put in there, or something? Because, yeah, and she seems to be taking a lot of this in stride very well. Like, okay, my soon-to-be ex-husband has another being in there because she knows about the suit, right? So she knows about him being Moon Knight because she didn't freak out when he got impaled 17 times and such. So she knew that because she's last episode, she was like, put out the suit, put out the suit. So she knows that he's Moon Knight, but then she didn't know about Stephen. So is Stephen a construct that perhaps Marc subconsciously made to protect Layla because for some reason Khonshu has a list of prospects? Apparently, maybe Layla filled out a job application. She didn't realize that, instead of for this, it was actually a front for Khonshu's avatar, and he just has her resume on file and such. Who knows?
It's part of the form that you need to fill out to get forged documents, the actual hardware of the forged documents, so you can have them available. So then you can have crafting time with mom and make the forged passport, which I don't think would work in this day and age with the electronics behind it, but we'll just go with it that a forged passport will get you from London all the way to Cairo without having to go through some sort of electronic scanning. We'll just go with it. It's one of those things that we just need to go with. But yeah, I enjoyed Layla. I enjoyed learning more about Layla. I enjoyed her athleticism and her ability to fight. Obviously has been honed over the years. And she doesn't steal. Remember, she doesn't steal. She just takes the stuff that's already been stolen. And then liberates a little bit of it to, you got to pay the rent.
She's right. That's the British Museum. It's the biggest display of stolen items on the planet.
Truth.
Don't forget, though, too, that Stephen could also just be the part of Marc that doesn't want to get a divorce. Because if you remember back to the previous episodes, he tells Layla, I would never divorce you, in a much worse British accent because I can't do one that bad.
She seemed to get into him, especially when he was in it was the desert, when he put together the puzzle piece to get this constellation and everything. Which, okay, I didn't want to go there right now, but I opened the door to it. So let's just go there. All right. I'm a rocket scientist. I know space navigation. Basically, if you know the motion of the stars, you can project them as far forward and as far back as you want. You know the position of the sun. You know the position of Earth around the sun. This is all stuff that's computationally possible. A lot more today than when I got my bachelor's degree in astronautical engineering. But you still can do it, and it's pretty easy. So why, Khonshu, do you have to spin the roulette wheel of the nighttime sky and then get where the stars used to be 2,000 years ago? I'm pretty sure that there's some way to do this already in the MCU. Michelle, can you help me out? I'm blanking out here.
Yeah, how about you just call Darcy?
Yes, Darcy, the woman that we all want to see more of in the MCU. That should have been a seed for Darcy to come in right then and there. She's got a PhD in astrophysics. All right.
And you could also just Google it because I Googled it.
Yeah, you could do that too.
But Anthony, my thought was that Khonshu just wanted to show off the fact that he could spin this guy. Does that seem like something he would do just because he can?
But then he got stoned. He did this and he's like, I'm going to get stoned now. And not in the, really cool pot brownie sort of deal, but actually turned into stone. And now I have a question for Anthony because Anthony, you're the Moon Knight expert. Now that Khonshu is stoned, does that mean that there's still a Moon Knight?
And there would still be a Moon Knight, yes, because in the comics, actually, Moon Knight is currently imprisoned in Asgard for attempting to use Marc/Moon Knight to take over the world in order to save it, so to speak. But yes, so Moon Knight does still exist. Now, in the MCU, this comes with a host of abilities and powers, the suit and all that other stuff. In the comics, Moon Knight has had powers, but more often than not, he does not and is just a regular person. And the suit is just, a costume that he wears. Given the current situation now with Khonshu's imprisonment, what I'm not sure of is if this is going to have an impact on Marc's ability to manifest the suit, or if it's a situation where he still retains the suit, but he's less powerful. I'm not really sure where they're going to go with this, because regardless of where they go with it, it's going to be comics accurate, frankly.
Didn't Khonshu say that I won't be able to heal you? I think that was one of the side effects.
He may have said that. I only watched the episode 1.5 times, so I would have to go back and rewatch that again.
Yeah, he did mention healing powers.
Yeah, I didn't get to that part on the second watch through.
Okay.
But again, you might very well be correct.
I didn't catch whether that healing from Khonshu, though, was like on top of what the suit is able to do, or if all of the healing came from Khonshu or what. So, I mean, we're anywhere from not being able to heal to just a diminished healing factor.
What's that? I think, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you just said Sharon Carter. Yep, I'm pretty sure you said Sharon Carter. Why did you mention Sharon Carter right there, Chris?
So as Marc, or whoever he is at that point, and Layla are walking into the giant display of stolen artifacts, they're being led in by one of the bodyguards. And the bodyguard, just like it's no big deal, says, oh yeah, Madripoor, blah, 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 Madripoor, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Madripoor? Like where we saw Sharon Carter and other people from Falcon and the Winter Soldier who are not as important as Sharon Carter.
Which is basically everybody as far as I'm concerned, but okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh yeah, you brought up Madripoor, and yeah, I just like Anthony a second ago, I completely glanced over the Madripoor, but as soon as you said that pre-show, I was like, oh yeah, Madripoor. Absolutely. We'll see how connected it is. We'll see if this gets into the Secret Invasion issues that are ongoing, because that could be part of this too, right? I don't know. I know that Michelle pointed out an article that came out a while back, but she pointed out in our Discord server that the Marvel Studios were rewriting facets of Sharon Carter's story post Falcon and the Winter Soldier because of the fan reaction. They didn't like seeing, just like me, they didn't like seeing Sharon Carter in that state that she was. So I don't know if that means her participation is going to be reduced, expanded, kept the same, changed. in some way, shape, manner, or form. And I don't know what that means for Moon Knight. Are we going to see Sharon Carter in Moon Knight? I would say no at this point, because I think that would be too big of a thing. Maybe in a post-credit scene or a mid-credit scene, I could see that. But that's interesting. I think it was Beck that brought up Madripoor, right? The one bodyguard that talked to them quite a bit. I think that was Beck.
He was just mentioning something like, oh yeah, you remember what happened with Madripoor, something like that. It was just Madripoor.
Which also means that Layla has Madripoor connections as well.
You know who else has Madripoor connections? X-Men. Is this potentially how we start to sneak X-Men into the MCU?
I don't know how I feel about that. I put too much credence into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because I'm putting in there that is going to tie some of these threads together, that movie that's coming up, because we are talking about multi-universal stuff as we saw in Spider-Man No Way Home, and we kind of see how that plays out. So that's kind of where I've been going, but I'm not adverse to something else happening as well. So who knows? Maybe.
Oh, if this is what it is, I think it's totally just like Anthony noticing super, you have to be Moon Knight fan number 1 level thing in X-Men. And then it really comes in Multiverse of Madness, kind of like in comics where you have a character technically-ish appearing in an issue, but the first time they actually do anything is the next one.
Okay. Anyway, Michelle, I just wanted to say thank you again for digging up that article after we had talked about it and bringing it up on our Discord server, because obviously I do remember that. That was a few months ago that you brought it up.
Yeah, not her fault. Not her fault. Writers knew better.
All right. I want to bring up one of the avatars. Yatsil came up, and I don't know if Yatsil was in there just to be able to give Marc/Steven some advice to move forward, the next MacGuffin, or, she's the avatar for the goddess of love and all that. So I don't know about you guys, but I projected maybe some relationship tension that might be there that might throw Layla and Marc/Steven into some sort of place as we go forward in the next 2 episodes, perhaps, because, Yatsil and Khonshu, what was the goddess name?
Hathor?
Hathor, thank you. Which was also in Stargate, by the way. See, I remember that. Okay.
I'm very disappointed that you can remember that name now.
I know, right? Anyway, Hathor and Khonshu seem to have a past, so I don't know if their avatars are going. And I see some issues in Marc and Layla's relationship, like they're kind of repairing their relationship right now, and I could see Yatsil coming in and just, by not because she's coming in to encroach, but there's this perception, the sitcom stuff that happens, with relation, or rom-com stuff that happens with relationships. I could see this happening.
Are you trying to bring some Hallmark holiday movie stuff into the MCU type of thing?
Why not? I mean, sooner or later, we know Disney's going to own it anyway, so might as well bring it all together already.
So is all of this going to fall apart because they were trying to plan a surprise party and they didn't want to ruin it for Layla?
Right, exactly. Why not? Right? Steven needs a proper date because his date was broken up right before. I don't know. Maybe it'll be maybe Steven and Yatsil would get together and it'd be like training so that Steven can relate to Layla a little bit better. I don't know. I'm just saying there's a lot of ground that we can cover in 2 episodes before they can get to the finale. I think we're all in agreement, though, in the finale, the 2 of them will be working together at some point to get to whatever the end point is. I'm just throwing in the Hallmark, we're in the part of the act where their relationship gets a wedge in and drives them a little bit apart again. All right. Hallmark Holiday Channel, or Hallmark Channel's now done for SP for the week. Anthony, you have some predictions going on.
Yes. My prediction, as I had indicated earlier, is that we're definitely going to see Jake, the third unknown identity. We're going to see Jake before the end of the season. We're also going to see Marc, Steven, Moon Knight, somebody try to release Khonshu, and Harrow is going to try to stop him because we're going to reach a point where it's going to become apparent to Moon Knight and Layla that they're going to need Khonshu's assistance in order to stop Harrow from releasing Amit. And they're going to have to break into the pyramid and shatter the stone statue. I envision that's how that is all going to play out in my head. So we'll see. We've got 3 episodes left. We'll see how right I am in a couple of weeks.
I think that Layla is going to decide that she is completely done relationship-wise with Marc, but that she wants to be with Steven, and then hilarity will ensue from that.
I predict, I think Amit's probably going to get out, and we're going to have a god fight. And then I hope there's also a god fight, but then there's also like an avatar fight and just a big fight. I want there to be, because the fight choreography at this episode was stellar and really interesting. So a really big god fight and avatar fight without the Fire Nation would be epic.
So glad you brought up the fights, Michelle, because that was one of my notes. Fight choreography was good. After having watched Daredevil and the first couple of seasons of Arrow and even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Spider-Man No Way Home, there's been these almost epic continuous shot. It was even in Hawkeye in December where you had a continuous shot, or as continuous as they can make it with fight choreography all the way through, and less obvious cuts to stunt people, which I'm fine with stunt people doing some stunts, but there was a couple of scenes in here, particularly with Oscar Isaac, that it was clearly a cut done to sub in a stunt person. And I'm not saying anything against Oscar's ability to do action scenes whatsoever, but I'm just saying the cut was made. So it was like, after I've been doing this for 10 years and looking specifically at fights and stuff like that, it was stuff that I could pick out. Now, if I wasn't podcasting on Moon Knight, if I hadn't been podcasting for the past 10 years, especially on super powered shows where you have people that are fighting and doing great choreography, I probably wouldn't have minded it at all. But it's just some little tidbits of stuff that I've seen. Do I mind it? No. Especially the fight at the, I don't know, training ground, circus, whatever you want to call it, at Anton's place. That was pretty good, especially with the spears actually coming through Moon Knight and him having to break them off in order to save Layla and stuff. That was really well done, and I want to see more of it. That was what I was going to say. I want to see more. Just like you, Michelle, I want to see more of it.
They made a cape cool. Do you know how difficult that is?
Doctor Strange?
Yeah, Doctor Strange's cape is sassy. No, it's cool, but it's sassy. But in the fight, the cape actually came into play in the fight.
I do appreciate that the one guy just made the very obvious move of grab the cape and pull him back. This is why Edna Mode says, no capes!
No capes. All right. Anything else, guys, before we move on?
Yeah, real fast, I just wanted to mention that for Anton Mogart from the comics, just to give you a little bit of a backstory, in the comics, he is an art thief who always strikes at midnight. And he battles Moon Knight a couple of times. And the nod that was in the episode is as he gets shot and the horse is riding away, the bell is tolling 12. And that's when they cut to Khonshu sitting on top of the clock. And he's like, tick tock, Marc, tick. I just thought that was a fun little, nod to Anton Mogart and his comics version. Now, hopefully, maybe at some point we'll get to see his son Midnight, who becomes Marc's ally and then enemy. It's a whole thing with Jeff, but that certainly possibly leaves the door open.
So you alluded to the fact that you don't think we're going to see Anton anymore, even recast.
No, only because he gets shot and he's running away. So, we may end up seeing him for flashbacks, but in the current moving forward timeline, I don't want to say he's definitively dead because we didn't see a body and he just kind of got shot on the horse while it was running away. But I envision, at least from his part of the story, I don't know how much more there's going to be for him moving forward.
Okay. All good things, and we'll see what happens in the final 3 episodes. We keep on saying that, and that we go forward here. I think we're set to get all 3 episodes in singular weeks. So I think we get 3 more weeks of this, if I'm not mistaken, because they shuffled around Obi-Wan, the Disney Plus premiere of Obi-Wan, to Friday. So it wouldn't conflict with the season finale of this, or the series finale of this. I think we got 3 weeks. And we will be covering Moon Knight episode 4 next time. In the meantime, we do have some significant Marvel Studios, particularly Disney Plus news to go into. You guys ready to discuss it?
Yep.
Let's do it. I have no idea what's going on at Disney anymore. Last week, we reported that the Defenders had lost some of their memorial things, some of their tributes. Now they've gone and restored the Defender Saga Stan Lee and Reggie Cathy tributes following the backlash that was going on. Again, like me and SP said before, I think a lot of that backlash was because people had no idea why it happened.
Yeah. I think we understood the Stan Lee one. We came to an agreement, and Michelle, we talked about it before when we were talking about the Stan Lee tribute in The Punisher. It was right after that horrific scene where there's multiple deaths, right? And we're like, well, maybe not the best place to put a loving tribute to Stan Lee. But they put it back in. They also put the Reggie Cathy tribute back in. We were wondering Chris brought up, he was wondering at the time if they had gotten rid of all the tributes, but there was a Jessica Jones tribute, I believe, to Stan Lee that was still in her series. So they didn't get rid of all of them. I agree with Chris. I do not understand what's going on. Clearly, Disney is changing these on the fly, and it's coming up to fans to point out the differences of what is coming in and out. They haven't announced any of these. They haven't said, hey, here's why. There's been no announcement whatsoever other than they appear back, right? It's like, well, why were they gone to begin with? What are you guys doing? Why did you even make the edit to begin with? Because it might let us know what's going on for the future. Maybe it's they didn't understand what the fans would say about it that said, hey, look, we need to look at it. But it wasn't just these two, Chris. There's now another mystery.
Disney Plus has also gone now and removed the Defenders post-credits Punisher teaser. When the show originally aired on Netflix, the Defenders featured a teaser trailer for the Punisher as a post-credit scene where you saw Frank Castle / the Punisher using a sledgehammer to smash his logo into concrete while revealing footage from the show. But that's not there anymore. Again, I ask, why? This one just makes no sense.
None of it makes any sense. It's like someone is just taking these things. I'm going to edit and then I'm going to put it back up and let's see if anyone notices.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to remove any of the traces of the Netflix stuff while still keeping the shows. But I don't really understand how this would have been a Netflix thing because they're all on there. So it's not like you're removing a reference to a show that's not on Disney Plus. They're all there. So I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I don't know if we'll ever know. This might be a case, I know I jokingly posted this in a couple of places, but this might be a case where the interns are left unsupervised. Might come down to that. I don't know. But anyway, we'll continue to report on this stuff because this is what Chris does now. And we'll see if anything else happens. In the meantime, there's another news story that we're going to talk about today, and nobody wanted to cover it. And I had to beg, borrow, and steal in order to get Michelle to say anything about it. So, Michelle, I know you're very reluctant. You don't want to do this, but you're a team player. You stepped up. So what's going on?
Dear audience, you do not ever have to twist my arm to talk about She-Hulk. Anyway, She-Hulk reportedly bumped back on Marvel's Disney Plus schedule, grr, A leaker on Reddit with a proven track record in regards to WandaVision suggested She-Hulk could arrive very late 2022 or even early 2023 as various special effects houses hustle to complete post-production. This information lines up with a report from March about She-Hulk facing some behind-the-scenes difficulties. As long as it's right. I play video games, and one of the things recently, for the past few years, that's really irked a lot of us is the releasing of things that aren't finished. And if they need a little bit more time with the special effects, please do so, because She-Hulk, for those of you who do not know, is green, like the Hulk. Want to make sure that that transition looks good on screen, that when She-Hulk is She-Hulk, it also looks good on screen. So if pushing it back means it looks better, I'm for it.
Yeah, Jen is a character that needs to be done right. And I'm a big fan of the character. As an attorney myself, it's always refreshing to read the way in which the law is sometimes the focus of Jen's stories, sometimes not, but it's always kind of there in the background. And I would very much love to see this basically be an Ally McBeal with superheroes kind of story. And fingers crossed that's what we get. And if we have to wait a little while longer, then so be it. It's not like Disney Plus is hurting for content. They basically announced everybody and their sister is getting a show. So just shift around the release dates. I mean, we had, a couple of weeks between the prior show, I think it was Boba Fett, and this. There was like 3 weeks where there was no new major Disney Plus stuff, and that's okay.
So by lawyer in comic book shows, you're talking about single female lawyer, right?
I mean, sure. Anything is possible. Jen is certainly known in the comics for her dating life. And so I would be intrigued to see something like that. I'm also hopeful that we'll see the appearance of another very good lawyer in the show at some point. We've got 10 episodes. I'm sure.
You're talking about Foggy, right?
Legally speaking, yes. I mean, if we're talking about the show, I could go on a tirade about how Matt Murdock is a terrible attorney. But yes, either one of them I'll take.
I don't know if you caught it or not. I was trying to make a Futurama reference there.
Oh, I don't care for that show, so it went right over my head.
I see. Anyway, Chris, what do you think?
Okay, first off, Anthony is not my friend anymore.
I'm not your friend because I forgot to shout you out on Twitter. So
yeah, there's so many reasons why we're not friends anymore.
Okay.
Michelle, you do know, though, that there is a wonderful thing you can use to help fill that She-Hulk sized void in your heart right now, though, right?
And that would be?
That would be a new comic run that is issue 3 just came out, and you can read about She-Hulk.
I just picked it up today at my local comic shop. Yes. I am reading the current She-Hulk run.
All right.
Already on top of it.
Since you brought that up, I'm going to officially rant on the podcast right now about Marvel's stupid new way to redeem digital copies. Now, I appreciate how Marvel does that versus DC, which does not do that anymore. But still, you have to basically email a support ticket with a picture of the comic for them to send you back a code to redeem. I don't understand that. First of all, I mean, I get they're probably trying to protect themselves from something because the way that they were doing it with the little codes that you peel off, which may or may not peel off right. And God forbid you figure out what's a 0 and what's an O in there. But yeah, that whole way how to redeem Marvel Digital Comics now is broken.
Well, it's probably because of people like me who would buy it and then give the digital code to somebody else who I know wouldn't be able to afford it but wanted to read it.
Yeah, I was constantly selling codes on Reddit. You buy the book for $4, you turn around and sell the code for $1.50. You know, if it's a $5 book, sometimes you sell it for $2. Get some of your money back.
At least I was giving it back to the children. Come on.
I was selling codes for a long time.
Okay, rant over. Anthony, you have our final news story for today.
So Ironheart, which is a show that I'm very much looking forward to, has found a director, and Ryan Coogler is on board as an executive producer. He and his production banner Proximity Media have joined the creative team. And at the same time, the show has firmed up its filmmaking talent, hiring Sam Bailey and Angela Barnes as directors. Dominique Thorne is top-lining Ironheart, playing Riri Williams, a brilliant teenage inventor who, in the comics, builds her own version of the Iron Man suit in an MIT dorm. Riri is a fantastic character, very much looking forward to this series. And if Ryan Coogler's on board, even just an executive producer role, I'm sure he's going to have a lot of fantastic input. So once he gets done with all of the Black Panther Wakanda Forever stuff, I'm sure he'll be providing some story notes and input on that series. So looking forward to that when it drops. I would imagine probably just based on the production timeline, probably won't be until late 23, early 24, probably, I would venture a guess.
Yeah, I'd have to go down in their show notes to find out where we projected it, but I would agree with your assessment at this point. I'm going to jump in here right now because I have enjoyed Ironheart ever since Ironheart came back on the scene in Marvel Comics just a few years ago when they were supposedly ramping down Iron Man because of what was going down in the films. But I have lovingly followed the Ironheart comics, and as Chris can attest to, because he's seen a video of it, of all my comics laid out, I do have a big stack of Ironheart and Iron Man comics. And so I'm really looking forward to this. It also means that going forward, we're always like, who's going to be the next Tony Stark? Well, it was slated to be Tom Holland as Spider-Man going forward, but after Spider-Man No Way Home, I don't think that's going to happen or not. So you have Shuri over in the Black Panther universe. There might be something going on with the character or actor that's playing Shuri. I don't know if they've come to terms with that or not. But if you're looking at Riri Williams, she's definitely got everything that Tony Stark has and more, and is played by a female character. So you're not necessarily doing a gender swap with the Iron Man character. You're actually creating a new character that knows just as much as Tony Stark does. It doesn't have the resources that Tony does, but does fantastic. So it's like when you're creating Star Wars A New Hope and you have no money and you make this masterpiece and then you get a bunch of money and things fall apart, right? Riri Williams is that early George Lucas making Star Wars A New Hope, and she does it fantastically, and I can't wait for it. Anyway, that's my aside here. Chris, what do you got?
You know what else Riri Williams does not have, though, is a dinosaur. We're going to have to see a Ironheart Moon Girl team up so that I can see Ironheart, Moon Girl, and Devil Dinosaur all together.
Okay, now, Chris, how dare you do that to me? Because now I want that. And I have to admit, sometimes it's tough following Marvel stuff because I would buy and then it would get dropped and then it gets rebooted. And it's hard. It's hard because I read Ironheart, but then it went away and now she's back, I guess.
Just never take things off your pull list. My pull list is like 3 pages long now because of a bunch of indie stuff that ended. But if it ever comes back, they don't have to ask me if I want it. But if you want to fill that void in your heart again with comics, I don't remember when it's coming out, but there is going to be a Miles Morales and Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur series.
We also had a dinosaur in Runaways.
Yes,
so
we
let's
did.
get that dinosaur in too. All the dinosaurs.
Right. Let's just do that.
Let's just have a dinosaur show. There we go. We got Marvel dinosaurs. There we go.
Well, and there's a Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur animated series coming to Disney Channel this year.
I'm going to cross the streams a little bit too. There is going to be Jurassic League from DC.
There we go. All the dinosaurs.
And it wasn't me crossing the streams this time. I'm usually the one doing it.
That one was totally worth getting vaporized for.
All right, that's the news that we have this week for Marvel Studios. There's obviously a lot going on, and we will keep everybody apprised. Don't forget that you have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness coming up. There's trailers dropping left and right every week now for that. Just a few weeks away for that. We'll have to talk offline on when we're going to cover it on this show, but I will tell you I'm excited to see that movie. We actually have some feedback, so we're going to cover that right now, and here we go. Shout out to our homie at Mr. Paracletes on Twitter. Responded to us after we published the last episode, and he said, so 2 things I'm wondering from this most recent Moon Knight episode. This was episode 2, by the way. First, if every time Emmet determines goodness before they commit evil and the concept of preventing future evil occurs, would everyone need tested again given the butterfly effect principle? And then secondly, and this may be a serious reach, is Stephen's use of litigators perhaps a reference to the Egyptian god Sebek, who has a crocodile head, but he thinks it's a gator, or who doesn't know the difference? And so that's his tweets. I will add, maybe it's a reference to Loki.
Yeah, I did see a lot of folks talking about alligator Loki. A lot of memes going around on the interwebs.
All right. So, Chris, since you're the big time travel guy here now that Haley's not here, what do you think of the butterfly effect principle?
Okay, first off, that's a really good movie. So that does bring up a lot of things because a lot of people do their evil bad deeds because of somebody else. So if you take out that kid that cut in front of me in line in 3rd grade, then you wouldn't have me getting in trouble for pushing him out of the way and making him fall over. So yeah, I think we're going to have to continuously test everybody because testing people for things like this is good when it's a life or death situation.
What counts as evil, right? I mean, just look at what's going on. Who is she? First off, I don't know who she is. So what is her concept of evil? Why did the old lady die in that first episode? Like, what is the projection and how far in the future does she see? I mean, I'm in a bad mood and I get tested and then all of a sudden I die because I'm in a bad mood and I'm thinking about, I don't know, stuff. And now I'm dead because I had a bad day. And then if I'm seeing someone getting tested and they die, you know, there's my friend. Wait, my friend's not evil, but now they're dead. And now I'm going to have evil thoughts. And I just passed the test. So I guess because I was earlier in line, it's a good point.
Yeah, it definitely muddies the waters a bit for something like that. But frankly, I don't think it's the kind of thing where it's taken too much into consideration. I think from a storytelling perspective, it just makes for a more interesting power set. But the whole notion of prejudging someone before or pre-crime, I mean, we saw that in the comics in Civil War II. That was the whole point where, for once, Tony Stark was on the right side of things, and Carol Danvers decided to be the schmuck this time. So whether or not that gets brought forward into the MCU, who knows?
Well, I want to thank Mr. Paracletes for both listening and sending us feedback. You can always get us feedback on our Twitter account, which is at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. You can email me anytime, stargatepioneer@gonnageek.com. There's also our Discord server, which you can have conversations back and forth. And don't forget our voicemail line at 844-THE-BUS-1 for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. bus, or 844-843-2871. All right, Michelle, what are we going to do now?
We are going to take a party cruise down the Nile.
Anthony, it's so good to have you back on the show. You set us straight, and there was much less SP being wrong on this podcast because of you. So thank you very much. And where can people find you?
You can find me on my podcast, Capes on the Couch, wherever you find podcasts, minus Spotify. And our website is capesonthecouch.com. And we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Capes on the Couch.
Hi, thank you for everyone who's listening and downloading and especially putting up with all of my rants. If you want to experience more of my thoughts of the world or read what I like to retweet and stuff, you can find me on Twitter at @Shell_game. And here's really where I am right now. I'm not doing anything else currently besides trying to survive life.
If you want to see me sneak pushing buttons into things a lot more than I do here, because I feel a lot freer to do it on my own show, you can head over to playcomics.com, where the most recent episode as of us recording this is me talking to Tristan Johnson, host of Step Back History on YouTube and one of the co-hosts of It's Probably Not Aliens, about Men in Black, because I just went completely on the nose for that one. And the next episode, I don't know, probably a year-old episode from Cullen Bunn that I should have released seriously like a year ago, and what's my problem?
Yeah, what is your problem?
I don't know. I have no good excuse for that one.
We'll start to train you a little bit better now that you're Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. host. All right. I have been doing fun stuff. I've been talking about The Expanse. That's over now. We'll talk about that episode in the future. But if you want me to guest on your podcast, go ahead, hit me up, and we'll talk. And I will love to come on your show. And that's it for this week. So until next time, I'm Director SP, filling out an application to be a god avatar.
I'm Agent Michelle, hoping the Fire Nation doesn't invade.
I'm Agent Chris, who really just wants to see more Ghost Spider in the MCU in all ways.
I'm Consultant Anthony, who's hoping to see Layla open up her own chain of necklace and jewelry.
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com, where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod, found at incompetech.com, and also artists on pond5.com and audiojungle.net. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual hosts and do not represent Stargate Pioneer Productions, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation, Marvel Studios, and ABC. No infringement is intended.
Chris, seriously, you've got Kaylee the necklace, right?
I haven't been able to find it yet, and I really need to hurry up and get on that.
Yeah, you better, because she might be behind you right now, ready to do something because you don't have it.
That's such a cool necklace. I want one.
I know. I want one.
It's effective. Bye, everyone.
Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is copyright 2013 through 2022.